At my sister's rehearsal dinner, my mother smirked and said, I only ordered for family, so I got no plate. Am I family or not? I asked. Don't do this. Not here, she muttered, still chewing. I stepped outside and called the wedding planner. He said, Your family canceled your invitation, but the $50,000 deposit stays. The table fell silent when I walked back in and said what no one expected. My name is Victoria. I'm 32, oldest kid, emergency contact. The person who shows up with a toolbox and a receipt. I manage repairs for a city transit yard, buses that complain in winter, radios that only work if you hit them, punch clocks that hate Mondays. Nights. I fix laptops on my kitchen table and label leftover screws and baby food jars because I like seeing order. I rent a narrow apartment over a sewing shop that smells like starch and old gossip. If you open my freezer, there's ice, dumplings, and a folded envelope labeled taxes. I don't like surprises unless they're on a paycheck. My sister is Summer, 27, the favorite since kindergarten's most enthusiastic. She makes mood boards for a living, or says she does. Mom calls her our bright spot. Like the rest of us, are clouds. If I ask what's the number, Mom says, don't be small. If Summer says, I have a vision, Mom claps like there's a studio audience. We talk a lot about vibes in a house that never had a budget. Summer got engaged to Theo in April. Soft sweaters, big watch, never carries a wallet. He posts about the grind from brunch. He calls bartenders boss and my mother queen. The rehearsal dinner was at one of those restaurants with Edison bulbs and succulents and a private room that looks better in photos than in person. I wore the only blazer I own, the one that makes me look like I pay my bills early. The table was a long white runway, place cards in gold ink. Everyone already had a drink. I set a card on the gift table, handwritten note, small sensible check, then took the last chair at the end. When the salad started landing, the server moved in a smooth loop and then skipped me. Plate for Cousin Dean. Plate for Aunt Liv. Empty space in front of me. The server glanced at his tablet. Hey, I said softly, I think you missed one. He winced. I have instructions to serve family only, he whispered, and I watched him wish he were anywhere else. Before I could answer, Mom leaned around a vase of hydrangeas and smiled like a cat in a window. Victoria, I only ordered for family, she said, stabbing arugula. The table did that weird little laugh people do when they think something is a bit and hope it is. Summer adjusted a napkin like it needed surgery. Theo lifted his glass. Don't be sensitive, big sis, he said across the candles. Tonight's about love. I looked at the space where a plate should be. Am I family or not? I asked. I didn't raise my voice. You didn't have to. The sentence sat on the table like a coin. Don't do this. Not here, Mom muttered, still chewing. My chair made a small scrape when I stood. I pushed it back in because even mad, I don't leave messes. The hallway outside smelled like lemons and dish soap. A framed black and white photo threw my face back at me. Decent tie, tired eyes, a person who can find the loose bolt in any machine. My phone buzzed. 2 reminders I'd set that morning. Venue confirmed tomorrow's balance and lighting vendor security deposit pickup. Under them, an email from the planner with the subject RSVP revision. I didn't tap it. Behind the door, Theo's laugh popped like a balloon. He'll be fine, he said to someone. Victoria, always intense. I stared at my screen until the words unfogged. Then I tapped the planner's number. He picked up on the second ring, cheerful and tired planner voice. Hey, Victoria. We good for the walkthrough tomorrow? I'm at the rehearsal dinner. I said, I have a weird question. Shoot. Can the family coordinator remove someone from the head count without the contracting party's consent? There was a pause like he sat down. They did it, didn't they? Who's the contracting party on the venue, I asked. He said, you signed the hall and the lighting package through your company account. That's why the rate was good. I closed my eyes. So if they cancel my invitation, their coordinator asked us to remove you from the ceremony and dinner count, he said, voice careful. But the deposit is yours. The $50,000 is locked to the date. It doesn't come back unless the hall rebooks the same night at full price. He exhaled. I'm sorry. Are any charges pending against my card besides what I already approved? No, he said. And per your authorization, only you can add. They can't even if they ask nicely. Good, I said. I put my forehead on the cool wall for one long breath. Okay, thanks. You want me to bridge a conversation? He asked gently. I can claim a vendor emergency. No, I said. I'm going to do something else. When I walked back in, the room was mid-toast. People smiled at words that made a nice sound. My place was still empty. I slid into my chair and let my hands go flat on the table. Everything okay? Summer asked, eyes on her fork. Yeah, I said. I just needed to remember how to breathe. It didn't start with a plate. It started with a power bill. I was 19 when Mom said, "Put the electric in your name. Just for now, the system likes you. You pay on time. For now, in our house is a bridge that never lands." 3 years later, when I tried to switch it back, she cried into a dish towel and said, "You don't abandon family." That was the script. Summer learned the second line. You're so rigid. At 21, Summer tried college for 2 semesters, then content, then MLM-scented marketing, then I'm building a brand. She is very good at looking like she's working when she's asking for money. A typical text. Summer card got weird. Can you book my flight? I'll Venmo Friday. Mom, she stressed. Be a gentleman. Me? How much? Summer. Not a lot. $347.16. Missy. That's a lot. Summer. Promise I'll pay you back. Me? Okay. Notes app. $347.16. Friday. I keep a spreadsheet called Family Tab. It began as therapy, so I wouldn't yell. It became self-defense, line after line. Summer phone, $69. Mom water, $31. Summer copay, $220. Mom breaks, $380. Summer rent gap, $650. In the notes column, I'm honest with myself. Friday equals never. No repeat. Get receipt. The total isn't the problem. The assumption is, when Summer met Theo, the asks got dressed up as opportunities. He pitched everything like a TED Talk to a person who can't afford a TED ticket. We can scale if we consolidate, he told me, hands steepled over a spreadsheet he printed in 12-point calibre, like that made it real. It's silly for you to pay rent when you could invest. You could get points for the wedding and write it off through your LLC. My LLC is for fixing city radios, Theo. He smiled like that too. What if the family LLC was our umbrella? Our mother ate those sentences like candy. He's so smart, she told me later. Why can't you be more flexible, Victoria? Money comes and goes. Money in our house came from me and went to them. The wedding started with an email thread. Team Summer plus Theo plus Dante planner. Dante is a pro. Cheerful subject lines, terrifying spreadsheets, tabs, venue, catering, florals, lighting, experience, and underwriters. That last one, because the hall required a guarantor. I have good credit because I learned to be allergic to late fees. Guess who everyone looked at? The venue holds with 40%, Dante said on the first call. $50,000 refund only if a miracle replacement happens. The guarantor approves all vendor charges. No one else can add costs. That's how your rate stays. Who's the guarantor? I said. You, if you sign, he said. Pause. Summer said, You're the point person. I said, No. Then I said yes to just the hall and lighting, because I can't stand chaos, and I thought being the gate would keep the flood out. I used my repair company account as the guarantor because the hall required a business profile. I asked Dante to write in the contract that nothing else could be added without my written approval. He did. I paid the $50,000 as a gift. I told myself I was investing in peace. Then came add-ons. A champagne wall. We're known for champagne. No, they are not. A flower tunnel. Once-in-a-lifetime vibe. Cold spark fountains. Safety approved. A live painter. Investment piece. A grazing table. Non-negotiable. Each came with urgency. They can hold it if we pay by today. No, I said to most. What did we agree? Don't be cheap, Mom texted. Bro, it's pennies. Theo said about a 5-figure thing. It's not pennies, I said. It's a used car. We did planning nights at Mom's, where Dante dialed in, muted, useful. Summer wrote vibe on a whiteboard like she wanted it to learn fear. No drama, she said. No negativity. She pointed her marker at me gently. No tense faces and candids. Mom added, we want to look like a perfect family in the photos. It sat there. It grew mold. A week before the rehearsal, a small change email slid in. RSVP revision. I skimmed at a stoplight and almost rear-ended a delivery truck. Remove Victoria Hart. Note per family coordinator. She will not be attending the ceremony or dinner. Keep her CCD for vendor. I pulled into a lot, breathed into my jacket, and called Dante. I didn't cancel me, I said. I know, he said. And you could hear the part of his job that is marriage counseling for people who think money is a personality. Does the $50,000 stay? It's in. It stays. You can't pull it unless another couple gives the hall your exact money for your exact day. And they have no reason to. It's a good date, but they're not magicians. Can I block everything else? Yes, he said. You already wrote the contract, right? They can't add anything. The only lever left is your consent. I drafted an email to freeze authorizations and didn't send it. I wanted to see if my mother had the stomach to sit across from me and say, family only, to my face. She did. Summer watched it land and pretended she couldn't read. Theo lifted a glass and made a word salad. I stepped into the lemon hallway and called Dante. He confirmed what I already knew. When I went back in, I had decided something I never decide. I was going to stop managing their feelings and manage mine. The small truth first, then the big one. Nobody likes a mic speech from the person at the end. I wasn't going to give one. I stayed standing behind my chair until a toast ended. Then I picked up my water and spoke to the table like I was telling a driver their brake lights were out. 2 things. Not now, Mom said automatically. Thing 1, I said, looking at the empty space in front of me. Am I family or not? Candles crackled, forks paused. You could hear the Edison bulbs decide to hum louder. Thing 2, I said, and took the envelope from my inside pocket. I didn't raise it like evidence. I placed it on the tablecloth between me and my mother. This is a choice. I printed it so no one pretends they misheard me. Theo's grin shifted into the tight one he uses when a check bounces in his head. I slid out 2 sheets labeled Option A and Option B in thick black letters because I work around people who need labels to avoid mixing parts. Option A, I said, facing Summer, because I did not come here to wrestle a man who calls me bro. You keep everything exactly as planned. The hall, the date, the lighting. My $50,000 stays as a one-time gift. In exchange, we're done after the wedding. No more asks, no emergency contact, no using my name for anything, no quick favors that cost rent. I'll step back. I won't ruin your week. I won't attend. The story you tell strangers doesn't include me, and neither does your budget. I'll formalize the boundary in writing so no one has to guess. Mom's inhale was a hiss. Option B, I continued, not looking at her. I transfer the contract to you 2 by morning. The hall needs a new guarantor and a new card for the balance. You sign a repayment plan to reimburse me the $50,000 over 24 months. No interest, no drama. In exchange, I show up as your actual sister at your actual wedding. Eat a plate of food. Stand where you put me. And we try to be a real family with receipts instead of a photo that lies. Theo laughed without joy. You think you're a bank. I think I'm done being one, I said. Summer reached for the paper like it was hot. This is cruel. No, I said. This is clear. Mom found the tone she uses when she wants a fight to look like an intervention. You won't force us to choose at dinner, she said. You forced a choice at dinner when you told the server I wasn't family. I said, finally turning to her. I'm giving you a grown-up way to match the grown-up decision you already made. Dante materialized near the host stand. Like people who manage fires for a living, he kept his distance and his phone in his hand. He was not my ally and not their enemy. He was a clipboard with a pulse. Theo reached for option A with a smirk. Well, take the gift in the silence, he said like he'd won a game. Summer's hand landed on top of his. Wait, she snorted. Babe, she didn't look at him. She looked at me the way she used to when she was 6. And I taught her to tie her shoes. What does done mean? She asked. It means Mom texts me sunsets, but not bills. It means if you need money, you ask someone else. It means if I have news, I don't run it by a committee. It means my life doesn't get voted on. She blinked hard. Mascara does not forgive truth. Theo tried a new angle. You're making it about cash. This is about love. It's about a plate, I said in a pattern. Aunt Liv, who doesn't like me, but likes fairness, said into her napkin, let them pick Mara. Mom's jaw worked like she was chewing a stone. Option A, she said finally, voice flat. The deposit stays. She can leave. There it was, the sentence I'd been walking toward since 19. Summer's mouth trembled. She looked back down at the paper. Can I think until morning? She asked. About option B? Yes, I said. The hall needs a name by 10. Theo scoffed. We're not signing anything with you. Then option A is easy, I said, and put a pin next to the paper. Initial here. Dante will receive the boundary letter tonight. The hall will get the form tomorrow, removing my name from everything after the event. You'll never have to ask me for anything again because you won't be able to. Theo opened his mouth, closed it. He looked at his dad, who had money posture, not hustle posture. The older man shook his head, small, tired. Summer took the pen. Her hand hovered. Victoria, she said, voice thin, are you going to hate me? I already tried hating you, I said. It didn't work. This does. She signed option A. Mom exhaled like a bellows. Theo grinned like he'd flagged a cab. Congratulations, I said, and meant the word like a closing bracket. I put option B back in the envelope. I took my card off the gift table. I left my note inside the card. I hope your day is what you keep saying it will be. Theo called after me. Say hi to your spreadsheets. People laughed because that's what people do when they're afraid of picking a side. I walked out. No slam. The hallway was lemons again. Dante caught my eye and gave me the smallest nod a person can give and still call it a nod. My phone buzzed. Dante received signed option A. I texted the photo of Summer's initials. Dante, copy. I'll mark your access at 12:01 a.m. After event, I turned my phone to airplane. My hand stopped shaking in the elevator. Morning made everything sharp. That's what sleep does when you actually do it. Text arrived before coffee. Mom, 7:02 a.m. You humiliated us. Mommy, 7:04 a.m. You owe your sister an apology. Mom, 7:05 a.m. You should be ashamed. Mom, 7:12 a.m. I can't believe you made me choose. Me, 9:15 a.m. Money/asks, email only. I will not respond to texts about logistics. Boundaries attached. I attached a PDF I'd spent an hour writing at my kitchen table the night before. Boundary letter, Victoria Hart. It had bullet points like a boring class that keeps you alive. I'm not a guarantor for family purchases. I do not add my name to bills, rentals, tickets, or emergency forms. I do not lend. If I gift, I write, gift. If I decline, I write, no. I do not accept last-minute crises that are choices. Communication about money happens by email. I will not attend meetings where I am insulted. If family excludes me socially, it excludes me financially. It felt ridiculous to print my own rules. It also felt like putting a guardrail between me and a ditch. Dante replied to a different thread. Paul acknowledges your permissions at 12:01 a.m., the day after tonight. You still technically own the contract, but you've authorized no charges. They can't add. It's a weird limbo. Me, thanks for staying human about this. Dante, it's my whole job. At lunch, Julio at the transit yard asked, You good? The way men ask when they're offering you a bolt, not a hug. Better, I said, and meant it. I spent the afternoon switching my auto pays off the joint-sounding accounts Mom once talked me into, just to simplify. I called the electric company and finally moved the service out of my name. 20 minutes on hold. One sentence to a board rep. I'm not the occupant. A click I felt behind my eyes. I closed a credit card I'd let Mom use for points and hadn't noticed was still on her apps. I changed my bank passphrase to obscure bus parts no one else knows. I froze my credit because saying no out loud makes some people creative. By 4:00 p.m., the group chat my family uses for gossip and conspiracy memes renamed itself Blessed and kicked me out. A cousin forwarded screenshots with a single text. For the record, I get it. I didn't respond because I don't need allies who whisper. The wedding day came. I did laundry. I fixed a friend's laptop and charged her full price for the first time. I walked down to the river that smells like pennies when it's hot and steel when it's cold. At 2 p.m., Dante texted. They scaled florals by half. Ban cut second break to save cost. They're telling people you had to work. Me, let them. Dante, you want pictures? Me, no. At 5 p.m., Mom sent a sunrise photo with the caption, God provides and no apology. I hearted it and didn't type words. At 11:40 p.m., Summer sent one message. We did it. Then another. I'm scared you won't be in my life. Me? 7:12 a.m. I'll be in my life. You're invited when you can be kind without borrowing. 12:01 came. Dante sent one last message. Your permission's expired. The hall is theirs now. Be well, Victoria. Me? You too. A week later, an envelope came with no return address. Inside, a check for $120 and a sticky note for that time with the flight. I said Friday. I looked at it for a long minute. Then I deposited it and kept the note. Not because of the money, but because of the sentence where she finally said which Friday she meant. People expected me to blow up or cave. I didn't either. I went back to the transit yard. I taught Nico how to crimp a connector without stripping the wire. He said, "Why didn't anyone show me that?" I said, "Because they wanted you to think it was magic." Cole texted twice. "Manto, we should talk, and you made me look bad." I didn't respond because everything he writes is bait with punctuation. Mom tried a new angle. She showed up at my building and buzzed all the apartments because she knows mine is broken. I texted email. She wrote, "Stop being corporate." I wrote, "Boundary letter applies in person too." She left a paper bag with oranges and a note. "Don't let them make you bitter." I ate the oranges and threw away the note. I can separate fruit from message. The quiet didn't feel like loneliness. It felt like a room I finally rented for myself. It's been 9 weeks. The album went up. People in soft light, hands touching hands. The expensive photographer catching the exact moment a laugh looks like grace. My seat isn't in any photo because it wasn't a seat. That's fine. Most of my life doesn't photograph. Summer and I text about weather and the coffee she's trying to make at home. She sent a picture of a plant she was killing and asked, "How do I not? Me, water, drainage, leave it alone, more than you want to her rude me." 3 days later, she sent the plant again, perked, no request for money. That felt like actual growth, not the mood board kind. Sunsets and verses. Sometimes she starts typing. You know, your sister and I reply email, and it fades. We see each other at Aunt Liv's for Sunday spaghetti. Sometimes we talk about birds and recipes. That night, I talked to the dog. Dante sends a quarterly newsletter about venue trends because I asked out of curiosity, not craving. He added a one-line note last time. "You did the clean hard. Good job." I started. I don't need applause. Sometimes I need one sentence from someone who watched. I kept the boundary letter and taped a shorter version inside my kitchen cabinet where the coffee lives. I read it while the kettle complains. I don't attach my name to other people's bills. If I give, it's a gift. If I don't, it's a no. Money and plans live in writing. I leave rooms that insult me. If the invite is revoked, the wallet is too. It felt silly the first week. Now it feels like an instruction manual I wrote for myself. People want a dramatic twist where I stormed back in and flipped a table, or a movie ending where Summer sobbed an apology and we hugged into credits. What happened is smaller and more useful. I paid what I chose, refused what I didn't, wrote it down, and left the scene like you leave a shop when they put a sign in the window that says, "Members only." If you need a moral, here's the dull one that works. Don't sponsor the room that bars your chair. Don't let family be a coupon code for your legal name. Love loud if you can afford it. Say no quietly when you can't. Write your rules in ink. Put them where you make coffee. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. I still live over the sewing shop. The machines hump. I still fix radios that will die again in a month and laptops with crumbs inside like confetti. Last weekend, I bought a secondhand bike with cash from a jar and rode it until my legs shook. It felt like being 11 and saving coins. Except this time, no one called me petty when I asked to keep what I saved. When my phone buzzes at a time that used to make my stomach drop, I check the cinder, breathe once, and decide. If it's work, I answer. If it's family, my cabinet decides. I am not a guarantor or a ghost. I'm a woman who chooses what she funds with money, with time, with silence.